I was the only one in our family making money. She was pregnant and we had no house. We were staying in Airbnbs. And then I got the email that we were all getting laid off. And so we neither of us had jobs. She was 4 months pregnant and we had nowhere to live. And I was like, let's go. This is it. This has to be it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to I Fired Myself. Very excited for this episode. This is one of my good friends, Paul Henning. This is a fantastic episode. You guys are going to love it. Paul's an absolute legend. Lots of good advice in this episode. I just want to let you know, if you go to the links below, we've got a free school community that we're going to be building out with all kinds of courses, tips, strategies for exiting the 9 to 5. It's called How to Be an Entrepreneur. Make sure you join that, and we're going to be building that out as we go. So we'll see you there, and enjoy the show. All right, everybody, I am super excited here. I am joined today by one of my good friends, one of my favorite people in the whole world. He's a husband, father, business owner, entrepreneur, author, just an all-around crusher, one of my favorite people in the whole world, Mr. Paul Henning. How's it going, Paul?
It's going better now that I'm talking to you, man. I had a busy day running around doing all kinds of stuff on a Monday morning for work, but I'm happy to be here.
Dude, well, thank you so much for joining me. And so, just so people know, I had Paul has an awesome show called Rewriting Our Future. You can find that on Substack, on your podcast player. I connected with Paul at the beginning of the year, here at the beginning of 2026, and we had a very robust conversation. And I've been saying that was my favorite podcast that I've ever recorded in my life. And it kind of just reframed a lot of my thinking because we started talking about like entrepreneurship 101. And I realized when I was done with that episode, dude, I felt exhilarated like I don't think I've ever felt before, just talking
Well,
about this stuff. And you and I were talking offline after the show, and I was like, man, I think we could really zero in on that specific that specific part of the puzzle of people's transition from like 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship, because that's really what we covered. I'll leave a link in the episode description for that episode. I encourage everybody to go check that out because you and I have been on like a similar path. You and I have both stepped away from the 9 to 5 around the same time. You know what I mean? And you've had your experience, and I've had my experience with it, and it's been really cool because our paths have kind of like been parallel to each other in that and the exploration part of it. And but yeah, I just want to give you credit, like our conversation, that conversation, and then our conversations afterwards really kind of gave me the motivation to want to even start this show. I was like, dude, this could be something huge. So you're a big part of this. You're a big part of the journey. You're a big part of my journey. So I'm really excited to get into it. So like that episode, you were asking me questions about my start, my journey. And like I said, it was exhilarating. I realized that's all I want to talk about now. I don't even care about, been
nice.
podcasting for like 6 years now. And it's like, for everything from history, current events, like conspiracy stuff, right? It's like, I don't even care anymore. The only thing that makes sense to me that I only care about is how to grow a successful business. And now I'm finding I have an equal passion for helping others find that. And then, like with the handyman stuff, I was living comfortably. I fully pivoted into a new marketing type of thing, and I was able to live comfortably. I'm not going to claim that I'm like the most successful business guy in history by any stretch of the imagination, but I do have some valuable insights on that specific portion of bridging the gap between 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship. And so much of it has to do with mindset. And I wanted to bring you on to talk about your story. So now I want to flip the tables and hear your story because it's just such an important piece for people who have an interest in doing it, but they just don't even know where to begin. So what let's start with the beginning. Like what were you doing? What was your 9 to 5 life like, for your adult life?
Yeah.
The majority of it. Tell us about that.
Well, that's a good question. So I just turned 40 a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
So for
happy
anyone
birthday.
who feels like they're too old, I feel like I'm just getting started. And I have been self-employed or entrepreneur on this entrepreneurship journey for 2 years. Okay. So it didn't get started for me until I was really like 38 years old, just to set the tone. Okay. And I started working when I was 16. And I just, I grew up in South Texas and a lot of hardworking people, but there were obviously entrepreneurs like around me. Every sign you drive by on the road that says like business or so and so's pressure washing. Like obviously there's entrepreneurs everywhere, but there weren't really any in my family. It was kind of classic rich dad, poor dad, where it was like there was just like you try to work hard. Like my dad was a blue collar guy. He worked on in the tower industry, radio towers and water towers, and he made his money traveling, making overtime. My mom was a teacher, and so you get your retirement and you go to college, and if you get a master's degree, they pay you a little more and all that. And so and that was kind of like the circles that we ran in socially and culturally for my family as well, and extended family even. And so that was just what I knew. I was like, I'm supposed to go to college and I was supposed to work really hard, kind of as like a man doing blue collar shit. And um, I just worked regular jobs in high school, and then I joined the Navy for a few years because I was like a total bum because I didn't have any direction when I left high school. I was like, I want to be a writer, which now I am a writer and I like literally sell self-published books. But in high school, I was like, I want to be a writer, and I might as well have been like, I want to be like a freaking astronaut or a fairy. Like it just, I had no direction. It was just like a magical thing. Now, part of my whole life goal is to create a life where my son and future children don't feel like the military is attractive at all. There's absolutely nothing the military can offer them. Like if my son's like, I want to be a writer, I want to be like, great, this is how we can like do that and actually make money doing that. But those days I was like, well, I can't just like be a writer. I don't even know what that means. And so I was just like a bum. So I joined the military. Of course, that helped me grow up in certain ways that I didn't get from like other male figures or rites of passage in my life. That is another big conversation that we're like missing culturally. And then I left the military a year early. I paid to get out early because I was like, I've had enough of this. This is not my scene. And then I just continued kind of in my dad's example. I got a degree like my mom always told me to. And then like I learned from my dad, I just worked blue collar jobs basically all the time. I I worked on wind turbines for a little while. I did wildland firefighting for several years. And then I was just like overtime. That's the only way I need to make money, overtime, And if my, partner, girlfriend at the time or wife is just like, I'm not there and I don't make enough money, well, I got to leave them again. I got to leave my wife to go get more overtime. How else am I supposed to make money? And so it wasn't until really the pandemic started to change the way that the world was. And my wife and I decided we didn't want to work for the government. We were working for the National Park Service at the time, both at the same park, but on different crews. And just like working towards that pension and that, kind of like hourly, every couple of years somebody will get retired, so you get to get a promotion, or you have to move across the country to get a promotion type of thing.
And yeah,
Um,
that's around the time I met you too. And
exactly.
yep, and it was so funny too because your wife like was listening to podcasts while delivering, or, while out in the I was gonna say delivering the mail. No, 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 that's not what it was. Out in the parks, riding around in the parks,
Yeah.
listening to
Doing
podcasts all the time. That's when she
exactly.
discovered the podcast I was doing at the time, and that's how
Yeah.
we all came to be knowing each other. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Exactly. And so it was during that time I started to like, I started to have like an awakening. And this I was probably like in my mid 30s, and I was like, we started to listen to to journalists and activists and like philosophers, I would say like Derek Bros, someone who was like really putting me onto ideas about what like is happening in the state of the world and tied into not only like the economic sense and the social engineering, but also the spiritual side. Like, what are we doing here? What are you fucking working a job you don't hate? Do you not have enough money to like help your family achieve their goals? Like, that's a problem. And so you can remove all these ceilings and you can just pursue life in a way that is aligned with values. And that was really surprising to me because I'm like, well, what do you mean you're just gonna, give up uh these like security things for these like values? But what I learned was that some things are more important than money. And I spent a lot of time traveling the world. And so I would always I had spent many years quitting jobs and traveling the world. So I had this like idea in mind already that I could leave my regular worky job and then go travel. And that was like I thought I was like freaking figured it out. I was like, I did it. I like found a way to quit to leave the 9 to 5, but I would just quit and then go get another job. Well, what these people were saying is like there's a value system here, and we have to live in accordance with our highest values. And I was like, interesting. I don't even know what my values are. And so I started to learn more about truth and freedom and encouraging other people to be free and health. And I'm like, okay, I'm like doing life in a way that's like on level one. I need to like really pursue higher ideals and more consciousness, which is more truth. And I can't do that if I'm not braver, and I can't be braver if I'm not healthy, if I'm not poisoning myself. So we started to do like this kind of holistic journey towards more health in our mind and in our spirit and in our body and in our finances. And immediately we realized, especially when we started to discuss the public school system and the underground history of American education in particular, that there was no way I could send my kids, my future kids, to public school. And the only way I could do that is if they could homeschool, and the only way my wife could homeschool is if I could make two, three, four times as much money as I ever thought I was going to make at it with a W-2 9 to 5. And so I was presented with this thing. I'm like, if we are going to start thinking about having children, I need to be able to make way more money. I have to become an entrepreneur. So at the time, we had left the National Park Service, and I was working remotely as a health coach for this big major app called Noom, which is probably still around. Well, obviously they're still around, but they're now like they've gotten kind of off their original intent. That's all I'll say. But I was working from home, and so I'm like, okay, now I'm home, and I can do what I was making before in 40 hours a week in like 20 or less hours a week. So the remote work introduced me to being able to be more flexible, being kind of my own charge of my own destiny, even though my own day, even though I was still W-2. But that allowed me to dabble in other side hustles. And so we were like, okay, we're going to start thinking about having a baby. I got to start stepping into bringing more money in on my own. And this is the moment that really clicked for me is I took a self-sabotage course from my boss at Noom at the time, who was like this really cool woman. It was like this $40 course that she just like kind of like quietly put out. And I was like, that's interesting. And I didn't make it halfway through the course, but where I paused the course and I went upstairs and I told my wife, I need you to stop giving me your half of the mortgage right now. She's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes, because we both had regular 9 to 5s. And I'm like, it's not going to work unless I put the pressure on myself. So she was like, sweet, I'll just not give you that money. And I was like, okay, the mortgage is due in like 3 weeks. What am I going to do? What can I do? And I was like, I was trained by the National Park Service to use a chainsaw. I have a 5x8 utility trailer outside. Let's go. And so I put myself on Craigslist and I made up her half of the mortgage, probably within 1 week with about 4 hours of work. And I was like, huh,
Yeah.
interesting. And I rolled up to the client's house. At this time, I didn't have any insurance. I definitely didn't have a business license or LLC. I, I, well, it was a Jeep Liberty. It wasn't even a work truck. I had no work uniform. I looked just like someone you would hire with no credentials off Craigslist. And then I was like, all right. And so I started to do that on the side. And then I started to pursue other creative ideas, which we can get into more as well, like self-publishing. And then once this started, I started to expand more and more. I'm like, what else am I capable of? And I kept finding that my self-esteem was the ceiling. And I'm like, this is so interesting. Like, I won't raise my prices if I don't feel confident in myself. So now I have to do all this work to raise my own self-esteem, to imagine that the world is even, not only is the world greater and there's more available, but do I even deserve that greaterness? And so it became directly correlated with my own self-esteem and ability to articulate myself in front of a client or potential client. And then Noom had massive layoffs due to AI taking over our jobs as remote. We would just text people as health coaches. And so obviously ChatGPT, this was even like 2 years ago, it was doing a great job then. I can't imagine how good it's doing now. And so I'll wrap this up here, but at the time, my wife had quit her job because we had found out she was pregnant with our son, our only child so far,
Yeah.
and we had sold our house, and I was working remotely. So at this time, 2 years ago in January, I was the only one in our family making money. She was pregnant, and we had no house. We were staying in Airbnbs, and then I got the email that we were all getting laid off. And so we neither of us had jobs. She was 4 months pregnant and we had nowhere to live. And I was like, let's go. This is it. This has to be it. Like there's a sign at like a laundromat in this like small town in Virginia near where we are, and it says, "Okay, God, I'm listening." And that's that moment where I was like, I'm listening. And I had already started doing the chainsaw trailer thing. And so from then I'm like, I can't go get a job. I literally can't afford to get a job because it's not going to pay me what I'm worth. And that was 2 years ago. And it's changed a lot since then. And I've learned a lot.
Dude, that's so epic. I can relate the idea of the job dismissing us. Mine was around the lockdown era, and I still didn't have clarity on my next steps, and I kind of stumbled my way into entrepreneurship. But the idea that this was presented to you and the fact that you saw it as a sign, and most people would have taken that. Okay, so right, so you'd already taken some steps and you'd already opened the door for the idea of being a self-starting entrepreneur and that there are options and other ways to make money and that the world is like a video game and you can just go do things in it.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of the mindset, which we'll get into later. But so you'd already been pre-primed for that and seeing and recognizing getting laid off as an opportunity to then pivot over and to focus in on entrepreneurship full time is so huge because most people, I would assume, and this is to anybody listening, like just think this is a good little thought exercise. Like if you were to get fired tomorrow, what would your first instinct be? Would it be, oh my gosh, I have to go get another job? Or is it awesome? This is my opportunity to go start something on my own. So think
Hmm.
about that and think about what you would do. What would be the thing that if you did not have a job tomorrow, which I hate to say it, folks, for many people, that's going to be a reality very soon because Paul was an early adopter of the AI layoffs, apparently.
Yeah.
But that's coming for everybody. And I'm seeing
Hmm.
like little robots on my feed, on my social feed that are like really tactile and able to like put a screw on like that. And like,
Hmm.
dude, they're coming for all the jobs, the plumber,
Hmm.
everything, dude. Like coming for everything. So the people that are going to survive are going to be the ones that can manage the robots and be the bosses of the AIs and learn how to leverage those systems, right? So, anyway, man, there was so much in there. That was just really cool to hear. So, let me see about this. So, you mentioned about let me go back a little bit. So, I wanted to hear about how your thoughts on this. So, the 9 to 5, a lot of times we're forced to be in a job like just everybody probably hates their job. Most people they don't think it's the best thing in the world. And there you said something about like being more aligned. Like what was your experience being like out of alignment with an employer? Like did you ever feel like it was the greatest thing in the world or did you at times feel like you had to like sacrifice your morals in order to just stay in line in order to get another paycheck?
Yeah, that's a good question because that's how a lot of people feel, I think, all the time, or at least some of the time. I fortunately, for some reason, I can get into maybe like some of my family, my grandma had a big influence on me, but I have a very low tolerance for discomfort. And so when I have had a job that I didn't like, I was soon to quit it. But because I knew I was a hard worker and because I'm willing to like sleep in my truck and eat fucking tortillas out of a bag, I was always like, I can be broke. Like I'm not gonna turn into dust if I run out of money. And if I have to just like bum around. But some people I think are afraid of what happens if they have to downsize. Because yeah, if I want to stay living the life I have and my money stops coming in, yeah, they're gonna start repossessing shit and my credit's gonna go down or whatever. But if you're willing to downsize your life quickly to accommodate for new income, for less income, then you can deal with it. And so I have had every single job I've had quit aligning with my values. But fortunately for me, I just quit those jobs whenever that would happen. Like when I was a lifeguard in high school, at one point I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I quit that. I was a dishwasher for a while at a Mexican restaurant. The manager talked to me in a way I didn't like. And so I literally quit. I went to go wash dishes at the other restaurant across town. And when I was in the military, I was like, I got what I needed here in terms of, being understanding that like when the job isn't done, you can't just leave. It's like you're gonna fix this thing, and if it takes you 20 hours straight, then you get to leave. But like you're not just gonna go home at 3:30 or whatever. And so I'm like, okay, you just fucking can I can just work until it's done or until I literally pass out to go to sleep with the tools in my hand and wake up and keep working. So I'm like, I'm actually more capable than I thought. But I got out of that job as quickly as I can. Also, the military, I've been enlightened since then that the United States military is not this benevolent force of peace that I was like propagandized to believe, but that's a whole other conversation. So I left that. And then yeah, when I was working at wind turbines in Panama, I was leading a crew down there because I spoke Spanish or speak Spanish, and the wind turbine because I was like went to college and I learned about all this green energy, and then I went down there and I saw the wind turbines in person, and I'm like, okay, this is like even to this day, I don't know the cold hard facts about wind turbine efficiency and whether they're actually worth it or whether it's just a big scam. But I can tell you there it's not like just butterflies out there. I mean, these things are giant metal, grease-eating, space occupying things that are hard to transport and hard to dispose of. And anyway, a lot of it felt totally weird. And so I'm like, even though I was making good money, I'm like, I'm leaving this industry. And then when I got into Well and Fire, I really loved that job. I mean, I love that job. Like, it is so fun to work your ass off in the woods with a chainsaw on a hillside with a bunch of dudes, and there's like dangerous shit going on. But for me, it wasn't the right fit because I had just fallen in love with my wife and I had to leave her for weeks at a time. And I was like, that's not going to work. And so, yes, I have had that feeling. Long story short, that's my experience. But I would just quit. And so that's what I would encourage people. If you're not going to go out on your own, you can still practice listening to the voice inside of you that says that you need to go.
Yeah, exactly. Don't stay in a job just because you absolutely have to, and there's always ways to pivot out of that and maybe find something a little more aligned, even if you have to take a pay cut. But on this show, we're all about motivating you towards taking that next step, that leap of faith.
Hmm.
So what was it like? So you talked about the getting the mortgage payment in 4 hours in less than a week. What were some other early wins that you had? What were some things that stand out to you that were like really kind of reinforced that you were on the right path?
Yeah. Good question. Something that really resonated with me that took me a long time to finally like accept and adopt and integrate into myself is when people would be like, uh, what are you asking me what I'm doing? And I would go to be like, oh, well, I have this like business on the side, you know? And I always treated it like, well, it's like no big deal. I just do this little thing on the side. But people that aren't working for themselves would look at me and be like, you like kind of work for yourself or whatever? And I'm like, yeah. And there was so much like, it was like a light would come on. And it'd be like somebody's home in there, especially because I was new, I still am, but being new to it, people are like, well, you're doing this thing? Because I was like right at the threshold. It's like they just watched me go through the door that's right in front of them. And so it was more accessible. And then so they would be inspired by the accessibility of what I was just doing. And it made me be like, holy shit, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, this is pretty cool. I can make like almost a week's worth of money in a few hours on my own. And so that validation from the people around me that was kind of like surprising to me. And the other thing that was a big win is that in this particular industry, I don't know what kind of industries there are, but I've heard a lot of people, you can start with where you are. There's never, like, you might be like, well, I need 100 things before I ever can get started. But the truth is, there is a step that we can take with whatever we have in front of us. And when I realized that, people were asking me, do you have all these tools to do all this other type of stuff? And I was just like, no, I don't. But I have these two tools in front of me, and there's actually a lot I can do. And so when I quit being like, well, I don't have this or I don't have this. And I just was like, this is where I am. So this is my lane. So much opened up. Um, and so that was a really big win too, to realize that I had enough.
That's great, dude. Yeah. And then okay, so that just kind of leads to my next question. So you also mentioned this, and I've had this experience too, where it's like, yeah, you can be satisfied with where you're at, but then there's always like now that you open this door for being a business owner, self starter, it's like, well, what else can I take on? So what has that been like for you? So you were obviously an author, and we'll put links to your
Yeah.
books down below, but it's like okay, so you picked up a chainsaw, you got a trailer, and it's like, okay, what else can I take on? What's been your journey like towards now you're in the entrepreneur world? Now you're looking to expand, take on more things. I mean, you know me, I do a billion freaking things all the time.
Right.
Like, and it's like,
Yeah.
so what is it? What has that process been like for you?
Man, that's just the part that's so amazing because it's like mostly it's like if you have a job, I'll speak for myself. When I had a job, maybe I had enough time for another job that was part-time. And you could have like two jobs. And then
Little
some people are
side
like,
hustle
I'm
things. Like you
working
have your
three
side hustle.
jobs.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's like, well, in this realm, I can literally do as much as I want, especially if I like delegate things out and I can invest in projects that only need a few hours a month. And so I always had this like creative side, but I was never confident enough to put myself out there with my creative endeavors, like as an artist, let's say. I wasn't confident enough to put myself out there as an artist until I put myself out there as just basically like a tradesman. It's like a blue collar entrepreneur. Because then I finally had to stand in front of someone and say, this is what I believe I'm worth. It's X amount of dollars, and I'm going to provide this service for it, regardless of whatever, how much time it takes. And then I had to sit there and I had to keep doing that. And I'm like, you know what? This is a good muscle. And so I had written a book about how to travel the world. And so I started a little thing that doesn't do anything now, but it was a big part of the beginning of this journey. I started what's called Talisman Travel Co. You can go to talismantravelco.com, and I just put my book up there and I put my ability. I said I will do one-on-one coaching sessions with you and help you get over the obstacles that you have in the way of achieving your travel dreams, because travel is going to unlock an unbelievable amount of things for you, especially if you want to do it. So if you don't want to have a meeting with me for whatever, $75, then buy my book for $15 on Amazon. Here it is. And I put free sessions out there, and I got about a dozen free sessions from like friends and community members that are like, sure, I'll sit down. And then I was doing one-on-one coaching basically for free. A couple of people gave me a tip, but I started to do one-on-one coaching for this thing that I basically used to have more passion about than anything else in the world. It's travel. And I was like, oh my God, now people are sitting down with me and I'm literally a consultant making money from my laptop, teaching what I know. And at this time I would have been like, I don't know anything, but I'm like, okay. And then once I did that, I was like, you know what? I am from the Rio Grande Valley of South Texas. It's a very, very unique part of the United States, and I want to hear more stories and poems from the people of that region. So I started voicesoftheRioGrandeValley.com, and you can buy the books on Amazon. We've just put out the second year of Voices of the RGV, where we have true stories and poems from writers and poets from the Rio Grande Valley. And these two books, you can go buy them online. I self-published them. They're out there. And the other thing, so it's like little ideas come and go, and I'm like, but I've been trying to follow through to like not just plant the seed and then avoid it, but like or abandon it, but to keep watering it. And then because this like landscaping business, this small tree and brush removal business that I have, it wasn't I wasn't getting as much clients as I needed to fund my whole life. And there's like equipment involved, like trailer and hauling all this brush away. There was a man that I hired when we were selling one of our homes to paint the bathtubs, because the realtor's like, you got to paint these old bathtubs. Okay, this man came in and he professionally prepped and sprayed these bathtubs in the shower, and it was not cheap. And because we had three bathrooms, he came to my house three times. Anyway, I got to know this man. He's a self-employed, he works for himself. He doesn't have any employees, but he's like works for himself. He's done this for years and years and years. He can make as much money as he wants, whether he wants to work 10 hours a day or 3 hours a day. His phone always rings, and he drives around in a simple truck with a bunch of tools, and he basically can write his own destiny. And so when I got laid off, I messaged him very politely. I said, sir, you did some tubs for me. I don't know if you remember me, but I'm in a position. If you're looking for an apprentice, I'll even work for free. I would love to support you and for you to teach me what you do. And how could someone say no to that?
Mhm.
And so he was like, well, all right. Now I've been working for this guy for a year and a half. I'm a subcontractor for him, and we're considering transitioning the business to me eventually, but we need maybe more employees so that it's actually like a business and not just like a job that he's passing to me.
Yep.
But he's become one of my best friends, and he's about to retire. I was with him this morning, and he turned me into a craftsman. And so now I am a professional with a chainsaw, and now I'm a painter. Like I mean, I can't roll paint with a roller very well, but I can spray paint with an air gun. Um, you know, like an MRFer, let me tell you. And that was like in a year. This guy turned me, and I was with him in the houses because I would get nervous going to the clients because they would be like, "How much is this? $1,000? That's expensive." And in the beginning, I was like, "Oh well, I need the money, and I'm shy." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever. Just give me whatever you have in your pocket. Like I'll just take some peanuts and like a piece of gum." But I was just cutting my prices down. But I would go with Ron, who had been in the business selling his own services for like 2 decades. And so he would be standing there. Someone's like, it's $750 to paint this shower. It's only gonna take you a few hours. And he would just be like, yes, ma'am. She's like, well, that's too expensive. And I don't know. I just have a discount, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, well, we're too busy and our work is It's too high quality to be able to give those kinds of discounts, but I hope you have a nice day. And they'd be like, well, hold on, I'm going to hire you, obviously. And so he taught me how to deal with clients, and he gave,
Overcoming customer objections.
yeah, honestly,
Yeah, dude.
and
Ooh,
not being desperate, because that's the other thing is
yeah.
like at first if I was like I have to have this money, so he taught me so much, and since I have worked with him. I hire guys to come to the house. We hire a plumber. I hire an appliance technician. All these guys that we come to the house, so many of them are boomers who are looking towards retirement. They're getting there to work on whatever. They're like, oh, my back. Ain't nobody want to work these days. And I'm like, these guys, like, I want to use the term cash cow, but they're like craft cows. I mean, they have so much decades of wisdom that, and maybe they're not super, wouldn't be super great bosses, all of them, which is why they're complaining about not having employees all the time. But there is so much potential. So now I see opportunity now everywhere. So to answer your question, I got more things that I'm cooking too. It's only been 2 years,
Yeah,
right? And
dude.
those are
Yep.
four, the books don't pay me very much. That's fair. But I just spoke with someone this week about paying someone a fee to help me market for the Voices of the Rio Grande Valley, because that's money just sitting there. And if the Instagram was rolling, I might actually make a little money. But
And even
um,
your travel book, dude, and I
I
would follow up
know.
on that. I mean, the thing about that is like if you're trying to be like a coach or an influencer in a certain space, you got to put all this time into social media. Like you got to become
Yeah.
a social media guy and all that. You know what I mean? Like, which I think you could do great at that. Like you go on TikTok, make a little TikTok account,
Yeah.
drop like a little like 30-second piece of like travel advice every day, start growing your channel. You could probably sell the shit out of that book.
I know. It's so
And your
true.
consults, and start
Yeah.
a podcast on it. It's just like that's the recipe if you want to go that route. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, exactly. And so what happened now is like and then I sold a couple houses that we were living in, and
okay.
they weren't investment properties. We were selling primary residences,
Yep.
right? Which is what he talks about in Rich Dad Poor Dad. He's like, sometimes all you can afford is one house because the bank's like, you have a job, you can buy one house. You can't just go out and buy a bunch of rental properties.
Yep.
And then if that one house has an ability to make money and you're industrious, yeah, fucking sell it then. Like, where else are you gonna get all this money in cash? Yes, you have to pack up. Yes, you and your wife have to move. Yes, it's a big pain in the ass. But then you're going to have a pile of cash that would have taken you 10 years to save.
Yep.
But you did it because you moved. And so we just started to be like boom, boom, boom. And so now I have these four projects, the travel book, the other book, and the two trades. One's my business and one I subcontract and support him to build. And I wake up in the morning and I'm not like, where's the money gonna it's not like how am I gonna make money? It's like where does my attention need to go to build all these projects? And where can I outsource? So now I like hiring someone, and we're not like it's not off to the we're not like you were saying, we're not like I'm not rolling in it yet, but it's like bubbling. I can feel the wave and I can tell the wave is gonna take a while to go before it's crashing. Like I it I'm not reaping all the benefits of all of these streams of income yet in terms of like being like super flush. But for as far as my values could see, this is a big part about goal setting and understanding our own like limits. Because before I dreamt wouldn't it be amazing if my wife didn't have to go to work and we could have a little boy at home? And I did it in like less than a couple years. And I'm like, holy shit, if my dream had been 10 times higher, I would probably be like two or three, four, 5 times higher. And so it's not, my success, I realize is not, it's just a matter of how, it's like I heard your life is going just about how you feel about yourself. And so I'm like, wow. So I keep having to raise my sights. But yeah, so to answer your question, I got those four things at least that I'm going to bring up. And there's more on the horizon.
That's amazing, man. I'm super excited to see where it goes for you. That's just that's super inspiring. I mean, I hope everybody hears that. And to piggyback off what you said, I'm talking to this general contractor guy right now, um, trying to earn his business for my marketing agency thing. And he was telling me from his perspective, because he owns a pretty successful construction company, he's talking about how like from his perspective, like the whole construction industry is in huge trouble because you have all these guys like you described, all the boomers, they're all retiring. And for every uh one of those guys, like okay, yeah, no, let's see, for every like 10 of those guys, there's maybe one person coming up that might be competent enough to fill their shoes. So over
Wow.
like 10 years, there's going to be this unbelievable skill gap, unbelievable knowledge gap. Like all these people are retiring, they're not going to pass their knowledge on. Like this very, very like deep, esoteric level of skill and knowledge that a person needs to have to accomplish a lot of these jobs is just going to disappear with them, you know? And so there's going to be this
Yeah.
huge shift of just like, they're not even sure what's going to happen. I mean, it might be just in time for the plumber robots, but like at the same time, it's like this is a
Yeah.
huge opportunity. Like you guys heard Paul grabbed a chainsaw, had a trailer. You know, maybe you don't have either one of those things. Think of just like small investments. Like go get a chainsaw. Maybe you could, if you get a job, you can go rent a trailer for the day. Factor that into how much you're charging the customer. You know, what really triggered this for me the other day is like now I'm pivoting into the whole video marketing thing, but I have some like residual handyman clients that have reached out to me like, hey, can you do this for me? I'm like, all right. You know what I mean? I'm break
Yeah.
free, but I'm still like, I was doing one job earlier today actually, but I was in this restaurant hanging curtains. It's a very fancy restaurant that's opening just a few blocks from my house actually.
Hmm.
And I'd done some work for them on one of their other restaurants back in the day, and they wanted me to just come in and hang these really fancy curtains throughout the place. And I went and bought like a nice, it was like a $200 laser level because I'm like, I want to do this right. So I got a really nice laser level. And I have like, and I'm just doing this. And this is what really inspired this podcast. And I started reaching out to everybody I know. I'm like, let's get you on the show. Cause I'm just like sitting there and I just had this moment where I was like, you could just start a whole business just doing this. Just go. You don't even need a $200 laser level. You just need like one of the $50 laser levels and a freaking stud finder and a pencil and a drill and a pack of drill bits. And that's really it. And a
Hmm.
tape measure. And you can start a
Yep.
whole business, dude. You can just do, and I was just like, there's no excuse anymore. Like I got to get
Hmm.
this out. I have to get this out there. Just like get the word out, people. I got to get the word out to the people that if you're depressed and hate your job and you're trying to break free, dude, just go.
Hmm.
Like literally, it takes. Can you set aside like 200 or 300 bucks to get some of the startup tools, and you can literally
Hmm.
go out there and do it. It really, and then like Paul said, you get a couple. It's not gonna like. You're not gonna become like freaking what's that guy's name? Mark Cuban like overnight or whatever.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be Mark Cuban ever, but at the same time, like, you know, it doesn't take, like, all you have to do is just start. And then the
Yeah.
trajectory, the door just opens up for you.
Yep. And you're definitely not going to become Mark Cuban doing whatever you're doing now. You might
Yeah.
as well become like 1,000 degrees below him doing something that you actually care about, you know? And it's like, it's so interesting that you bring up all the different options because I am now, this, which is something I would recommend,
Yep.
is I'm in a business networking group, and there's business networking groups all over the world. They're all different brands and sizes and shapes. But for example, I didn't know this was available until just a few months ago when I joined, but it was probably the best timing for me. I'm not saying I would have joined earlier or whatever, but it came at the perfect time. So I joined a business networking group, and yes, there's an annual fee, but that's how they make sure that you actually show up. Um, and what this group is, and this is available all over, okay? Just for the record, this one is called Business Networking International. It's available in whatever city you're in, most likely, unless you're in a small town. Like, there are these available and they're looking for you. And what this is a group of people from like people that have literally $0 that are just starting to multi-millionaires all sit in the same room once a week for an hour and a half. And there's only one person from each industry allowed per room. So only one landscaper, only one massage therapist, only one realtor, one financial advisor, one handyman, on and on and on. So everybody in that room is a network. And so if anybody in that room or anyone they know says, I need a handyman, they say, we call Scott. They say, I need someone to remove some bushes. We call Paul. I need someone to paint this bathtub. We all call Ron, et cetera, et cetera. And what I have learned in this group is like, I could not have paid to get this much knowledge in front of me every day.
Or access. Or
I'm
access.
exactly, I'm required to network with entrepreneurs that are successful and unsuccessful every week. And I get to learn. It's amazing how much I'm gleaning. The reason I bring it up though, it's because the people that are in this room, like people are like, there's excuses. There's a child's face painter. Okay. She paints kids' faces at parties. That's an amazing job. She loves it. Her face lights up. Okay. Like, I don't know how many tools you need for that, but it could probably fit in your back pocket. And there's a professional organizer, which is what my wife did a few years ago too. And she was really good at it. She had never done any professional training, right? And so they also encourage me if you want to tell people you have a master's degree in psychology and that's why you're going to be helping hoarders, that would be a lie if you don't. But if all you say is I help people organize, you don't need any credentials, right? Like
Yep.
if I tell people I'm a licensed arborist, which I'm not,
Yep.
that would be a lie. And so you don't, a lot of times people cut themselves off at the knees because they're like, well, I'm not, you don't have to. don't, if you're not saying, unless you're like a chiropractor where you actually need a license, or maybe a master plumber or a master electrician where you like legally need these licenses.
Yeah, for big permitted jobs and stuff. For the
Exactly.
most part, you know.
No, you can just go. Like you can be whatever you're into, you can get paid to do it.
Exactly, man. And that's you just nailed it, dude. Um, yeah, that reminds me. So it's like you guys, if you're thinking about these terms, I don't even know where to begin. Okay, what are you good at? What do you have a passion for? What have you done in the past? How could you branch out on your own? And the way it was taught to me through one of my mentorship programs, it's like you pick your niche or your whatever, your field or whatever you want to do, and then you got to come up with your offer. And what Paul was touching on there is like, what is your offer? I help people organize. Now, the offer that you come up with should speak to their desired outcome. So you think about your customer avatar, the person that you're trying to sell your services to, put yourself in their place and put them in a place where they're like, the way it was taught to me, it's Heaven Island. Heaven Island. They want to be on
Hmm.
heaven. You want them to be on Heaven Island.
Cool.
What is that outcome? Okay. So like for me, it's
Hmm.
like I use cinematic video to make construction companies a lot of money. Boom. That's it. And then because their motivation is they want to make lots of money. They want to get lots of leads. They want to make lots of money. That's
Hmm.
my offers. I use cinematic video and paid ads to make construction companies lots of money.
Hmm.
As many
Love
leads
it.
as they want. So like that's it. That's so that becomes your offer. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
think in those terms. And you know, we'll get into like sales. Dude, I'm learning so much about sales. Like it's so crazy. Like that's where I'm at right now. I am drilling sales. Like I came up with a sales system where it's like, and I could show you some of this stuff offline, but because I don't want to necessarily get into it right here. I might do some features for it like in the school community or stuff. But this stuff I'm being taught right now, and a lot of what you were saying was like overcoming objections, like all that stuff. Like you can dude, it's crazy stuff. Like all I got to tell you like a little bit right now. So it's like you have this several phases of like a sales meeting, let's say, and this is like if you get a call, you get a lead, you're meeting with a client, you're going to bid a job, you have sales, you have like a sales strategy where it's like you do your intro where you like kind of just be friendly, just humanize yourself and you position yourself where it's you and the person against their problem. It's not
Hmm.
it's not them versus you. It's not you trying to sell anything
Hmm.
to them. It's
Hmm.
you're on their side and it's both of you trying to fix this problem.
I
That's
like
key
that.
positioning. And then you have your discovery where you ask a series of questions. I'll just pull it up right here. I'm not going to get too into it. I won't derail too much right here, but this is really cool stuff that I've just been learning. And so the other thing too I was going to say is like with all the AI stuff going on, like use that to your advantage. Like run, like just brain dump your skills, your talents, your interests, your experience into that and be like, what are some like entrepreneurial things I can do? And it'll just like give you some ideas. Like you just totally do that, dude. There's no excuses
Yeah.
anymore, you guys. So anyway, so then you have to take them through the 7 buyer belief framework. Okay. And it's pain. So the first one is pain. And this is like, it may sound like some people, if you, this is your first time hearing this sort of thing, may sound a little cringy or like salesy, but no, what it is you want to help them identify their pain. What is causing them pain? Why are they, there's a like for your, it's like, okay, let's say they have a tree laying across their backyard that smashed their fence. It's like they're in pain. They don't know how to fix this problem. So you don't need to be as blatant with this, but it's like, you can just basically just be like, so what, tell me about your pain. Tell me about why does this hurt? Why is it so bad? What happens if you don't, what happens 3 months from now if you don't fix this? Like what, those are the types of questions. And then it's doubt. So you need to like let them kind of come to the realization that they can't do it on their own. Like, and so therefore you become the bridge to helping them solve that problem. And then the cost of inaction, which is like, well, what do you do if you don't do anything about this? What if you don't like take action? And so this is like a way to pre-handle. Well, I guess this is more geared towards my business where it's like
No, I
you're,
just came back from a quote an hour ago, and I've
yeah,
done every single one of those so far
yeah.
has tracked with what I just did. So
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
going.
Yeah, well, it's like the cost of inaction. So like it's gonna how what do you so a lot of people this is how you so the idea what I was getting at what the idea is that you pre-handle whatever objections you're anticipating
Yeah.
in the discovery part of your meeting.
Hmm.
So you've probably had enough sales meetings where you know what your typical objections are. Oh, it's too expensive. I can do it on my
Hmm.
own, or I could, whatever. Somebody could do it cheaper, blah, blah, blah. So you can pre-handle the objections in the discovery part of your
Hmm.
conversation.
Yep.
And then the other one, like for me, a big one is like, oh, I got to talk to my wife about it or something like that. But in your discovery, you can ask them and be like, so is there anybody else that's like the financial decision maker here? And they're like, no, it's me. And or you just like, does your family know? You can actually ask these questions. They don't even know that they're being pre-primed for it, but it's like, does your family know that you're having this problem? Yeah. How long do they know how long you've been struggling with this problem? Yeah. Okay. Would they be supportive of you, like taking action on it? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So then when you get to the end and you drop your price, they're like, well, I got to talk to my mom. It's like, didn't you just say that your wife knows, supports
Yeah.
you and knows you're here at this meeting? So that's just an example of how you can pre-handle all of the objections. And that's like for this, where I'm selling like business to business, service based
Yeah.
businesses, where it's like, I'm like, okay, so what would it mean to you if, because we're running these ads, that you get three more jobs a month for like 20 grand. Let's say you're making an extra 60 grand a month. My fee is a no brainer, right? And they're like, well, yeah. Okay. So I just completely
Yeah.
obliterated their price objection up front. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So it's just like stuff like that. So this, I'm learning that if you have a sales system, they're called a sales syntax. Sales
Nice.
syntax, like a breakdown, boom, 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 boom. And again, this class that I'm in, like he broke down like a general sales syntax, and I threw it into this AI that I've been using called GenSpark.ai, which is like an AI agent.
Hmm.
That's what I used to really help craft and put together the ebook I wrote, which you guys can check out in the episode description underneath Paul's book. So I want you guys to check out and support Paul's book
Yeah.
as well. But there'll be a link to the book I put together using this tool also. But I ran it through that AI and said, okay, now I took all the notes from this like sales course, this 101 sales course that he put together, threw it in there and said, now take this information and custom curate it to, and it knows my business inside now because I run everything, I've run so much through it for like advice or strategy.
Yeah.
So it knows my business as well. So I'm like, okay, now take everything you know about my business and lay that on top of this sales syntax and give it back to me. And now it's given it to me and it's so dead on and awesome, dude. And so what I did is I recorded it. I recorded myself like, cause you don't want to like read it. Like you
Right.
have to like pound it in your head. One of the other guys I'm learning from, he's like your sales pitch, like I need to be able to walk into your room at 3 in the morning, shake you awake, and say, "Tell me your sales pitch right now." You just have to like
Yeah.
spit it off, just like
Yeah.
boom. So I've got this whole thing. I recorded
It's a
it.
good idea.
And now I've been listening. I just been listening to it like a podcast over and over and over and over and over and over and over. I've got to just commit it to memory so I can just boom, 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 boom.
That's
And because
brilliant.
I'm learning that was the weakness in my system. It's like a month and a half ago, I had no idea how to get leads. I didn't know where to get
Hmm.
leads. I was like cold calling. Like I was like,
Hmm.
love of God, please help me get a lead. And then I figured out paid ads. And now I get two or three, like one or two leads a day.
Wow. Nice work.
And now it's like a matter of like, now I'm at the point where I need
Yeah.
to like figure out how to get higher quality leads, which I know how to do.
Hmm.
But it's like, I've been having these sales meetings, and now I had a couple sales meetings before I had a sales system, and I saw how they went. They didn't go the way I wanted to go. I didn't close the sale, right?
Yeah.
So now I figured out the lead generation part. So now I'm at the part where it's like, okay, now I need to fail. My sales system is where it's leaky, as they say it. I'm leaking. I'm
Yeah.
spraying water all over the place outside of my sales system. So that's where I'm working on addressing it. So somehow I made it all about me, but I thought you might get a kick out of some of that. But
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. I mean, I just went to do this quote with this woman a minute ago, and she's got all this like just brush all over the property. There's like a hillside by her driveway. There's all these like spiny locust trees. There's saplings growing up. And yeah, it was like I said, I'm like, okay, well, there's obviously a problem. This is the pain. These like things are growing up and they're scratching your car and all this. And then I was like, what if you do if it doesn't grow? What if it doesn't happen? What if you don't fix it? And it just casually, yeah, just and it's not even like I never feel like I'm trying to be like shady. And you know what happened to
exactly.
it? I'm just like, this is going to be your problem. And you know what my main problem has been is raising my prices.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
which
was gonna ask you about that.
yeah,
So
because
tell me what
yeah.
that's been like as a struggle, and then how you've kind of overcome it, or where you're at with that.
Okay, well,
One,
because I
that's a big
just
one.
yeah, because I came from like not this industry. I mean, I could cut trees like from the ground. I don't climb with ropes or use bucket trucks, but I can just like clear shit all day long with a chainsaw. But I don't know I never worked for a landscaping company. I have no idea. I had no idea what people charge because I never worked for a landscaping company and I never hired a landscaping company. And so I would just go out there and be like making up numbers based on what I used to think was decent money from my 9 to 5. It's like, well, if I could make $50 an hour, gosh, that would be amazing. Because in my last job, I made like half that or less. But it's like, well, I'm not working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And so that doesn't $50 an hour doesn't mean shit if you're only getting 3 hours a couple days. Like it's totally different. And then so I just had to keep raising my prices. And then some people at the beginning were like, this is outrageous or whatever. And then I would be like, well, I'm already here and I'm like desperate for the work. So just whatever. I'll do it for literally whatever. But then I realized that I was getting frustrated when I was doing the work. And I was like, this doesn't seem worth it. Even though I'm making more money in a couple hours than I ever have, I can still tell this is not enough. And then so I was like, I need to professionalize myself. And so I went on,
Build
these
authority.
websites.
We call it building authority.
Exactly. Okay, I built authority. I went on Printify and I got a better truck. I got a bunch of uniforms. I got all these receipts and a bunch of business cards. I just like did, you know, I'm like, and so I showed up. I had a hat, a shirt, a truck, sign on the side of the truck. The estimate sheet has my name on it. My cards are there. I'm like, what's up? And then people kind of stopped arguing with me about the price.
Dude, that's
They would,
genius.
they were just like, oh, well, this guy's legit. Because of course, if I look all like, I'm not like smoking cigarettes and leaving like Mountain Dew cans in their yard, but I just looked unprofessional before. But now I'm like, what's up? And they're like, okay. Um, and then I was getting tipped. Okay. Somebody tipped me one time $200, and I was only there for a couple hours. And I thought, if this guy's tipping me $200 for 3 hours of work, I must have really missed the mark on this price.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like trying not to get tips. And so I just keep raising prices. And it's a balance because it's about the client. Some clients, they won't even blink an eye. And of course, I'm not just like eyeballing the client and making up a price on the go, but just steadily raising to find the carrying capacity
Yep.
for
You do.
what it is. Like, what is
Yep.
it? And the more clients you get, obviously you could do whatever. I mean, you could literally do whatever. Like the more clients you get, the more picky you can get. And
That's just
uh,
basic supply and demand. Like
yeah,
the
exactly.
market will tell you what your price should be. If you're
Yeah,
just like selling like hotcakes all day long with no resistance, you need to raise your price. If you can't all
yeah.
of a sudden sell anything, then I know there's like a specific metric for this. I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's like once you start like not closing like 30% or like once you hit the point where like you're doing 100%, you're closing 100% of your sales because the price is just awesome. And then once you get down to about 70% close rate, it's like, okay, that might be around your threshold. I don't quote me on
Mm.
that. I don't know that number exactly, but that's
Yeah.
it's like the market will tell you where your price should
Hmm.
be.
Exactly. And then it becomes a faith thing because it's like, if I lower my price for like $500, this guy will definitely pay me. But I'm not going to because no. And if I walk away from this, I don't get paid for this job because I can't schedule it. But then I open myself up to the universe. I'm just giving God a sign that I'm open for more. Like, I recommend people go read Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, the author of Eat, Pray, Love. She wrote this incredible book about being an artist and how you can work with like God or the universe or like this like collective consciousness to move your ideas around and just I mean it's just basic like basic like reality creation, thoughts, feelings, and actions create so the world. But like if you just reject what you don't want, you won't fucking keep getting it.
Yeah.
And so even if it's something, like obviously something is better than nothing. And that's what's really hard. To come home to my wife and I'm like, I didn't take anything because I wanted like the whole kahuna. And that can feel like stupid, but unless I am confident enough that I'm going to be totally persistent because like in Think and Grow Rich, persistence is like one of the main factors of anyone successful. So if I'm like, it doesn't matter if I'm getting rid of this client today because I'm not going to have this business for 1 week. I'm going to be persistent. I'm going to show up over and over and over. And also I'm going to have faith that the and understand the abundance that the clients are out there. But anyway, like today, so I went to go do this quote, and this people, I used to think that I could judge people based on the house they lived in. Doesn't matter. Big ass mansion, they could be super cheap. They look like they're like not doing too well. They could be writing checks. Like it's totally like I'm sure there is some generalization that works, but I just am continually humbled by how
Yeah.
I can't pinpoint that shit at all. But
Yeah.
these people, they seem like what I would imagine to be decently well off, where my price is not going to be offensive, and the husband and wife are there and they're just like, well, that just was more than we thought. And this is like 2 hours ago. And I was just like, you know what would do me a favor actually? Their landscaping companies around here are a dime a dozen. This is what I would be really interested in. We all give estimates for free. So what you would really help me out if you went and called a couple of the landscaping companies, all it's going to take is a few minutes. They're going to come here and they're going to give you prices. I would be really interesting to hear what their prices are because I don't actually know what they are. And I think that for you guys to get a fair price, you should know what the availabilities are for you. And they're like, oh no, that's okay. Well, and I'm like, no, no, I think it would be great. I think it would be great. And I said,
Do it
because you
while I'm
know,
standing right here. Call them. They're gonna be like, it's
yeah.
about 10 times as much as what this guy's
And
asking.
that's exactly right. And then while I'm having, and I'm not trying to be rude, but they are in this place of uncertainty. And also, I know that I'm still not high enough in the price. And so before I would have been like too nervous, I would have lowered my price. But I'm
Yeah.
not yet so cocky where I'm going to be like annoyed with them or something. So really, I just wanted to be like, look, I don't know how else to explain. I didn't say this, but this is what I meant. I don't know how else to explain to you that this is a good deal. And you can pretend all day by not getting any quotes that I'm ripping you off because some people want to feel like the person, like their bills are a struggle and everyone's trying to take advantage of them. But I'm so over that. One time someone was like, well, you're not taking advantage of us. I want to be like, excuse me? This is a voluntary and consensual relationship. I can leave. I'm not taking advantage of anyone. I get passionate about this. You have to excuse
Yep.
me. So I was like,
Yep.
you can get another quote. And she said, no, no, no. I know you're going to be a better price than anyone else. I've worked with companies like this before. And then I was like, okay, then I'll see you on Tuesday. Like
Yeah.
what? And because it's just yeah, and all of it in I just say that because I keep it in earnestness. And what's crazy is that I'm worth what my value is worth. And so this is what I'll tell people too. If you want, like we have a woman that we hired to clean our house. She's at least half the price of the other people that we used to have to clean our house. And we hire her because she does a great job, but she's really cheap. And she is worth, this is a kind of an interesting concept that I hope it doesn't like get too sidetracked, but she is worth what I'm learning, what she charges. So let's say she cleans the house exactly the same as someone who doubles the price. They're both worth it if we pay it. So she's worth the lower price because that's what she's defining her worth as. And so I'm having this thing where I'm like, we are worth what we get. The other day, a friend of mine was complaining, he's an apprentice electrician. And he makes an hourly wage, but he does like 90% of the work on the jobs for this master electrician who can like sit in the truck and sit on his phone and get paid like probably thousands of dollars while my homie gets paid hundreds of dollars. And my buddy was starting to complain that he's not valued enough and that he doesn't make enough money from his boss. And he was complaining about his boss not
Hmm.
paying him enough.
He needs
And
to watch this show. It's like,
yeah.
guess what?
And I
Start an
was,
electrician business, boy.
yeah, I was like, well, why do you work for him if you don't deserve it? And he was like, well, I'm like, if by your consent, you're consenting to your deserving it. And if you don't tell him you want to raise, then he'll never know, right? And I'm like, do you pay for insurance? And he's like, well, no, he covers my insurance. I'm like, do you find the leads? It's like, no, and not to mention he's an electrician, you're operating under his license. And I'm just like, we are, and I know this is speaking in these kind of generalizations can be like a hot topic, but I've learned that I get what I deserve.
100%,
And
dude.
so it's not that I'm making a price up. If I go someday and I'm feeling sick and it's hot and I charge something $3,000 that I would have only charged 800 for last week, I'm not price gouging them. I don't believe anymore. I'm just like, this is what I'm worth today because I don't fucking feel like it and it's hot and whatever. And if they don't want to hire me, they don't have to, which, yeah, that's a whole other conversation. But yeah.
Dude, unbelievable. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I was curious if you wanted to leave just a quick word of wisdom about just entrepreneurial mindset, and I'll let you get out of here. Okay, so I could frame that in an actual question. So, what has been your biggest epiphany when it comes to breaking out into the world on your own, starting your own business, the ups, the downs? We didn't even talk about the struggles. Well, I'll let you guys know. Paul's probably going to be a regular on the show. Just let you guys
Mhm.
know. But at least a regular guest. But what has been like the biggest epiphany? What's the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to when you hear the word entrepreneurial mindset? Because I think that is the biggest piece of the puzzle for people trapped in the 9 to 5, desperate to want to get out. What is your biggest piece of word of wisdom to those people?
Yeah, it's a great question. For me, I'm really interested, first of all, to watch this show because I want to know what the other people have to say to
I
questions
know,
like
me
this.
too, dude.
I
I'm
am
so
so
excited. That,
interested in
that's
what
it.
everybody else is going to say because,
Yeah.
like I've learned, I don't have to go right away, so I'll talk for a little bit, but
Okay.
like I've learned in this business networking group, I'm supposed to have coffee or lunch or something with every single person in there all the time. Like every week I'm supposed to have lunch with somebody. And then if you've already had it, just do it again. It's like go learn about each other, make friends and help each other's business. Like I might sit down with somebody who does like one sale at their job a month and they just like hate sales and they don't know that much about their job, but they're stuck there. And then I might go have lunch with someone who's like literally selling, they've already sold multiple million-dollar businesses. Like it's just crazy. So everybody's journey is so different. So I'm so excited to hear what your experience, what your guests are going to say. But for me, what the biggest thing that I keep coming up to is like what I said earlier, is that my self-esteem has been my limiting factor. I think there's two limiting factors in general. And one is our perception of the world. Is there enough abundance in the world to support my idea? If I'm going to sell a book, if I'm going to start a cleaning business, if I'm going to start, e-commerce wholesaling cabinets, like this one guy that I know, who's like in his 30s. He like started one of the biggest cabinet wholesalers remotely. He was selling cabinets all over the United States for millions of dollars a year from a fucking laptop. Like, I mean, just brilliant. Like, so the idea, the one thing is that can the world even support this? And I think that's an obstacle, and it says yes. Okay, unless you just have like the dumbest idea, the chances are that the world can support your idea is probably yes.
Dude,
So th
there's a market out there for everything.
exactly, especially with the internet, like come on.
Yeah.
And so, like my wife for a while, she was getting hired to hang picture frames for older women. Like, and if she just f defined that one niche, it's like my tub mentor says, if you're a one-trick pony, make it a good trick. And so if you just do, if you can find one good trick, like hanging cabinets or no, hanging picture frames for old ladies, like, I mean, you could literally do it, like if you market it well enough. But anyway, so the one thing is to find out, is for me to having to come to terms with the fact that can the world support this? You know? And then it's like, yes, because that shift created a whole other shift for me. Because then the world is like here for me. Like you said, it's like a video game. This is my experience. I'm here. I'm a physical body, I'm a spiritual being in a physical body. And so this realm is the tangible and spiritual realm together. It is like between life and death. And there's before birth and there is after death. And there is the middle. And this is where we are. And so like it has to be a creation. And so like this has to be a realm where I can create and move and come and go as I please. I'm not in a cell. Even Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning will tell you, even if you're in a cell, you're still in this world of abundance and ability to influence change, even if you're just passing notes to the prisoners next door. So in this realm where we're like, instill in this world that's like less restricted than that and less freedom by the day. But anyway, we have possibles. Okay, so the first thing is we need to get over that. The second part for me, that was the big part, was like, can I even am I even worth this? Like, who am I? Do I even deserve this? So to go up to somebody and to pitch myself was so hard for me because I'm like, it's kind of embarrassing to say, but like I always had super high self-esteem, right? But I never had self-esteem in the sense where I could go out and tell someone to their face, this is what I'm worth. I need $15 for this book I wrote. At first, I would give all the books away for free. I need, $800 for this couple hours to work on your property, or I need more money for this house that wasn't worth the same a few years ago, but here we are. And so to be able to learn deep inside of ourselves that we are worth, like, we have infinite worth. There's this incredible book called The End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke, and that's just what he posts over and over and over. We have infinite worth. So I still need to continually wake up and be like, I deserve more. Like one of the things we do here at my house is a community dinner. This is part of this expansion. Every month we have a potluck
Nice,
and
dude.
we invite people and I circle everybody up and I say a prayer and I shout out people, hey, these are the babies in the room. So and so's pregnant. So and so just got here from out of town. And we have a prayer where everyone says what they eat. And it's become something really beautiful. And this is tied into the entrepreneurship because it's all that telling people what I'm worth and actually providing value gave me the courage to start this community dinner. So now I stand there in front of my friends and family and I'm like, this is what we're all worth. And it's it's a vision of the world because before when I had low self-esteem, I never would have started a monthly community dinner so that my child can grow up homeschooled around community. That's why we did it. And I never would have done it because I thought, no, I'm too small for that. Like, who am I to stand up in front? Who am I to send an email out to 25 people that I know and care about in this community and invite them every month to my house for dinner? Who am I to do something like that? I never would have done that before the entrepreneurship, but now I can see that my worth is greater. And then the last thing I'll say is, and my worth is tied to service. If it was just for me, so I could sit in here and eat fucking Doritos and watch porn and shit, I wouldn't have any worth. But I'm just trying to get the value and the abundance, and then give it right back to the community. Like I don't need, sure, I want to stack a lot of money and I want to have material things, but ultimately my goal is to be in service. And so the more I decide I am in service, like I have so many people to serve, I'm hiring my friends now. Like
Nice.
my friends work for me. I host these things, so I have to increase my value and my worth in town. I'm like, yeah, lady, I need thousands of dollars for you. I have a lot of people to serve. And so that two-part thing, which like, can the world even handle? Can the world even provide me what I need for the value that I want to provide? Yes, they can. And are you worth it? It's like, well, you if you don't feel like you're worth it, then you probably aren't because you need to start serving people more. That's what happened to me. If I was just trying to tell myself I'm worth it while doing nothing, that doesn't I didn't gain the worthiness. But the more I was in service to the people around me, the more my worth went up because I was actually of value. And then my prices went up. So thank you for that.
Beautiful, dude. Okay, that's fantastic. Man, I'm feeling just as fired up right now as I did when we first talked about a couple months ago, dude. So this is great. Oh, thank you. Actually, I'll let the audience know. I'm not sure what my release schedule is, but this is the first one I've recorded so far of the podcast. So I don't know when I'm gonna start dropping them, but yeah,
Nice.
dude. So this has just been so good, dude. Like you're so inspiring to me. Can you let the people know where they can listen to your podcast and anything you want to shout out, all your books, and I'll make sure to include links in the description. But anything you want the people to know.
Sure, yeah. Thank you so much, Scott. I really love this project. I think it's going to provide a lot of value. I mean, I think that so many people are, it's like the hour is late and we have to become more industrious. And so the more knowledge we can glean from these people that you know and we'll get to know through this podcast, it's so informative. It's like another business networking event. I'm so excited to meet the people that you're going to have on because I need to know what they know so I can keep making more money and being in more service. So
This has already become a business networking thing too. I put the word out about this podcast, looking for guests in a bunch of local business Nashville groups, and I met this dude that is like exactly where I'm at, like with the marketing stuff.
hmm,
And he started off doing
nice.
construction marketing for construction companies,
Wow.
and then they started their own agency, and now he's like, I'm like, holy shit, okay,
Wow.
we're gonna,
That's
and I'm
amazing.
interviewing him tomorrow night. I'm interviewing him
Oh yeah.
on my show, and
Yeah.
we've talked on the phone, like we're gonna be best buds. I'm like, I'm just gonna be like, dude, tell me everything you know, dude.
Yeah.
I'll
Wow.
give you
That's exactly
10%
it.
for like 10 years. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
teach me everything you know, dude. And so it's like that's so this podcast has already been a pretty powerful networking tool. And so
Wow.
it's just like, dude, it's like that's what I'm saying, dude. This entrepreneur stuff, dude. Once you open the door and things start happening, you start making moves and get a little bit of motion, like this stuff is crazy. And I need everybody to just start doing it. So anyway, Paul, sorry. Tell
Yeah.
people where they can find you.
No, it's so true, man. Like dude, I could go on. Like the other day,
Please go on, yes.
I needed an extra vehicle because of my tub thing. I was starting to get spread too thin. I got multiple industries. Somebody gave me a 2003 Jeep Grand Cherokee. They
Whoa.
gave it to me. I'm putting it in my name tomorrow. Like
Wow.
they literally gave it to me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's because of all this like flow that you're talking
Yep.
about.
Yep.
And just constantly asking people, how can I help? You know what I mean? Like, how
Yep.
can I help? Like, and yeah, it's just, and being a good, like what you're talking about, this guy, you're like in awe of him and you're appreciative of him and you're like, I'm here to learn and I'm here to help. Yeah, well, yeah, so I appreciate this. I'm looking forward to more of it. But um, my podcast, which has a lot of content that is not about entrepreneurship, so viewer beware. It's called Rewriting Our Future, and you can go to rewritingourfuture.substack.com. You can also go to voicesoftheRGV.com or voicesoftheRioGrandeValley.com, one or the other, and you can check out the creative nonfiction anthology that I publish from these people that are very interesting. It's a predominantly Mexican American part of the United States, similar to like Arizona and California, but it's on the border of Texas and there's the Gulf of Mexico. It's just a remarkable place that's always a hot topic politically. But I love it down there. So you can check out my books there. And then if you go to talismantravelco.com, you can find the link to my travel book, which will teach you or other people around you how to travel the world, whether you want to just go somewhere with your family or you want to literally help somebody in your life who's lacking purpose to go like backpack Europe or South America before they take it all away with digital IDs and carbon footprints,
Hey,
or carbon credits. But anyway, those are the main links.
awesome, man. Thank you, brother. Really appreciate you joining me today. Super excited about this, and we'll stay in touch. So, all right,
Thanks, man.
everybody. If you're still watching, make sure you check out the links. Go support Paul. Go order his books. Go follow, listen to his podcast. Follow all of his stuff. Go join the school community. You'll see a link to the school community. How to become an entrepreneur. We're going to be building it out. It's going to be a really great resource. We're going to add more, add course material and all kinds of stuff. So, but get in there. It's free. Just jump in there and start chatting with the people in there. So, all right, guys, much love. We'll see you very soon.